Good Up is a safe space for casual, cultural, and controversial life topics for people of all ages from the Afro-Caribbean and American lens. It's your Tuesday reminder that no matter where your walk in life takes you, you're good up bad. The show is hosted and produced by Deidre Ritter and Heiza Quinones Ivory, and is a proud member of the Kickin' It family. Follow us on social media at Good Up Pod. Use hashtag GoodUpTuesday to join the conversation. And visit us over at patreon.com/gooduppodcast to join our Patreon family and get exclusive access to bonus content.
Sis, I don't think I understand. You got up bad. Like, hello?
Good night, good night, good night, good night. you know when I West man walk up to your house and he see your mother outside, he'll be like, good night, good night, good night.
Good night. Yeah, they say like 5 times. It's like a little incantation or some shit.
Like they're blessing your house before they talk to you. For asking when I be at home.
Right.
Speaking of West man. Tonight's episode is brought to you by
the VI man who don't care.
The VI men who don't care. If you are a VI man and you've lived your life, your entire life, your whole life without carrying a woman, you are the sponsor of this episode. You might be lying, but you're a sponsor.
I was about to say, so we're basically toast. Thanks.
Yeah, tonight, our lovely Good Up audience, we are, well, this morning, I don't know what time you're listening to us, we are talking about struggle love because that fuck is trash. And I am tired of seeing you hoes on Twitter posting your little man or liking up your man picture after he write a badly worded caption about how bad he has treated you for the past couple of years and how you hold a fuck down for he. Okay, I tired of you embarrassing yourselves.
I just don't get it. Like,
please stop.
I just can't. I literally cannot.
So Deidre, educate the children. What is struggle love?
This is my own personal definition, so drag me if you want to, don't really care. But struggle love is basically when you spend 11 years with a nigga and you tolerate a lot of fuck shit. He's cheated, he's said and done some awful shit. He's basically burnt your mama's house down and shoved a cactus up your ass. And, after maybe 10, 15 years, something happens. He risks, almost loses his life, or just something kind of wakes up in him where he's like, wow, I love her. I personally think that that's when he realizes that nobody else is choosing him. So he finally is like, okay, she's still here. Might as well choose her, So it's pretty much very much that. Love you 2 pieces, Beyonce. I'm not, I'm still a member because I was about to segue into examples.
We ain't reached Beyonce yet.
Because long story short, struggle love is when one person, usually the woman, tolerates a lot of disrespect. And then one day her man realizes the queen that she is, and suddenly that validates her idea of her being a queen. And then eventually they live in holy matrimony after, her entire youth is gone. And now he gets to age and enjoy a woman take care of him. And, he actually appreciates it.
We have been on a journey in the last 30 seconds, but the journey started with you talking about a cactus getting shoved up somebody's ass, and I wanted to go back there.
Okay.
I know that it was just an example, but like I couldn't even hear the rest of what you said because I was just like, a cactus.
I just needed to give a very graphic visual because the pretty much the thing is like whoever is on the receiving end of said struggle is usually going through excruciating circumstances. Mm-hmm. It's like the levels of disrespect. It's like Kirk and Rashida. Ooh. Sometimes to the 25th power. And the sad thing is at the very least, most people at some point get to a point where they stop being an asshole to their partner. But Kirk, I haven't seen Love on Hip Hop in a million years, but I won't be surprised if he's still dogging shit out.
I don't care if he changed or not. The first couple of times was enough for me, but
I'm just confusion. Like I really need somebody to make it make sense. But the long and short of it, we went on that very long trip so that I can explain, the meaning, at least as I know it, of struggle love.
I think that was a very good definition.
Okay.
I think the first example of struggle love that I want to bring up is people who stay in relationships for really, 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 really long periods of time. People who want to be wives, I'm about to drag you, right? And I needed to specify that because not everybody wants to be a wife. So yeah. I'm not going to make it seem like I'm dragging women who date their partners for long periods of time because It might be some women who just want to date and have no interest in being married. This is not a drag of women who choose to not be married, right? This is a drag to women who stay with people for long periods of time, accept everything they need to accept, because at the end of the day, all you want is that ring. You want to be able to say, well, at the end of the day, he chose me to be his wife, Yandy.
I'm gagging, by the way.
You know, so let's talk about those women. What is wrong with you?
Let's talk about them women.
It bothers me mostly because it places this super high value on this idea of marriage, and they are so like, I'm sorry, how much time do y'all think we fucking have in this life? Like, I get it, people live until the age of 80, but that don't mean you have unlimited time in the world. Like, who get time to be in a talking stage forever? Who get time to date a man for 8 or 9 years or 12 years before if marriage is your goal, did y'all not talk about that shit in the beginning?
Yeah. I think that's the thing that I'm particularly confused about, because there are people who don't aspire to be married. Cool, right? But if you find yourself with somebody, even though you've never intended to be married, and you realize a lot of time is going by and you can actually see yourself continuing to let time go by with them, why not legalize it so that if or when that person ends up in the hospital and some sort of legal authorization is made, their random relatives who is next of kin don't come storming in like, bitch, get the fuck out the way. We got decisions to make. Like, for me personally, I'm just like, I don't know. But of course, even without getting married, people could just have contracts in place that say, hey, if this happens, living wills, whatever the fuck. I just don't understand it either.
I don't get it. I feel like sometimes a lot of those women convince themselves too that they're okay with the longevity of the relationship, like waiting for marriage. I feel like they do that because somehow their partners have convinced them that marriage, like, we don't need it, like we good, we don't have to get there right now. But like, y'all having babies for these people, like y'all living and playing house with these people, y'all doing you're doing wifely.
You're being that person's wife without having
disclaimer. I don't be careful to say, don't do wife shit for a man who ain't your husband. I really don't like to sound like the prescription standard, like, oh, I reached to the first wives club, so let me lecture the rest of you bitches. I promise I don't care that much. But really and truly, if you are trying to be somebody's wife and you've been with them for a long period of time, why are you doing wifely shit for that person? Like, why? Why are you giving them all of it? Like, if marriage is something you're aspiring to, why are you already there minus the paperwork?
Because the minute I went on the record claiming niggas, they started acting the fucking fool. Like, the literal moment that I sat on this podcast like a dumb bitch and talk about how much I have a man and how much I love him, within weeks we were broken up. It's like,
that's why struggle love ain't it, because the minute you claim them, they'll go on Facebook and post lengthy status about how they've made you look like boo-boo the fool in public, and you've allowed it.
But in any case, struggle love is just that, putting up with a lot of fuck shit from somebody before they finally start to act right. And in a lot of cases, sometimes the person never acts right. So where do you think that originates?
Generational trauma.
Hey, I feel like that's gonna just be the new like tagline jingle for the song. Everything relates to generational trauma.
That's the fucking theme for this season. You hate your job, bitch. It's probably because you have generational trauma.
Absolutely.
Somebody tell you I can't white, generational trauma.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we saw our mothers do it. They saw their mothers do it, and it's I'm sure it varies.
So of course, let's go back to personal experience. Have you ever, or can you speak to witnessing the women or people in your life accepting struggle love as like the standard? And do you feel like in any way, obviously we know evolved Deidre is a different Deidre, but do you feel at any point in your life you also accepted struggle love as?
Absolutely. I'm not going to sit here and act like I wasn't a part of a struggly type situation. It was very awful.
Me not admitting that fuck, I gonna lie. Denial.
I'm not because you know what I'm not gonna sit here and act like I didn't experience a version of struggle love, and that's why I can sit here and say, please leave, sis, please, or sir, because sometimes niggas be out here accepting a lot of shit. I would love to find one.
I too was Boo Boo the fool once. I was, sis. It's okay. It's okay. I know that. I know your chest burning. I know you driving to work like, wow, that man talking about me. I was you too. Okay.
Listen, but you know, so here's the thing. I'm gonna be honest. The struggle of that I experienced, ironically enough, it wasn't so much. It wasn't related to like infidelity or anything. I remember being about Dylan's age because I was that quiet child who just kind of listened to what was going on around me. So I always knew when the women in my family were having it out with their niggas. I knew that the men in my family could have done a lot better by their women. You know what I mean? I knew when uncle such and such cheated on auntie whomever, even my mom's relationship, you know, I witnessed them all go through that, right? So at a very, very young age, I had to be about 7. I remember thinking to myself, when I'm an adult, I'm not going to allow men to treat me like that. I just vividly remember thinking, and then I went like as a teenager, I kind of was like, I'll cheat on you before you cheat on me. You know what I mean? I didn't have, you know, any like high school relationships to factor in. I was actually
was definitely also a perpetuator of struggle love at one point.
Who?
Definitely was. Me. That whole you cheat on me, I cheat back, fuck, like that shit dumb. Anyway, continue.
It is dumb. Yeah. So for me, I think I've always just kind of had a bit of a wall up where I chop you out the picture real motherfucking quick, right? But the struggle of that I encountered was me tolerating a lot of verbal and psychological abuse for a lot of years before realizing that that is literally not healthy. Like that is literally not okay. And just because you and this person say that you love each other, and I wish we both loved each other, but it didn't make the ways that I was being treated okay. You know what I mean? And that was a struggle of that I encountered. Also, a lot of financial hardships in that relationship. You know what I mean? A lot of ups and downs. And then also because I was at that stage where as much as I hated some of the things we were going through, it was very break up to make up. But at some point, I swear, I just had a moment of just being like, sis, this shit been going on for 5.5 years from like, and it started early on, and you halfway through your 20s and you still experiencing this. So what, you're gonna be 40 by the time you finally like actually leave? And by then, all your good years gonna be gone. And this is the example you're gonna set for your child. You know, like it was very much that. And so, you know, in true Aquarius fashion, I stayed in a situation for much longer than I needed to. But once I was done, which is, yeah. So yeah, that was the version of struggle love that I experienced.
Yeah, I definitely witnessed struggle love. I mean, you and I briefly talked about it before we started recording, but I made a promise to myself this season that we're gonna try as little as possible to air my family the fuck out.
Damn.
Because like I love my family, I really do, and I get that their business is their business, but like we lived in very close proximity, so a lot of their doings also affected me as a person.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so I'm speaking my truth, but I'm gonna stop talking people business.
I like that. You know, I'm going to make a people business jar. And anytime I just start delving too much into people business, we'll put some money in the jar.
Yeah, just put some money in the jar. But I ain't gonna be like Nova from Queen Sugar. Like I gonna tell the truth about exposing the whole family, you know?
Thank you, girl, because Nova really tried it. I want
wildin'. Anyway.
Yo.
But I witnessed struggle love in so many different forms. Aunts, uncles, their marriages, my cousins, you know, my siblings, my mother especially, my parents' marriage. So in that way, yes, watching people endure bullshit that they should not have endured for the sake of the marriage or the kids or what people gonna say if we get divorced. Like St. Croix, for me, watching my friends and their parents, watching relatives, watching family friends, knowing that like husbands were casually beating their wife ass and their wives were just staying, St. Croix is struggle love central.
I was just about to say, don't you think St. Croix is like a cesspool of struggle love?
It is like, very much a cesspool of struggle love. And then the other way that I witnessed it growing up was, and I didn't know it was this, but casually seeing young teenage friends and like girlfriend and boyfriend physically or verbally abusing each other, and big all out fight one day and cuddle up in the courtyard for school the next day like it was normal. Like physical and emotional abuse was very much seen as like a normal thing in relationships.
It was a
high
norm.
school, and it was actually kind of applauded, like that breakup to make up kind of scenario.
Really?
And I just remember not wanting to subscribe to it because I always knew that shit was wild. Like,
yeah, you know, for a second I had to remember that you went to Central because I feel like the couples in Complex were so timid, like tame and like
hey,
very wholesome.
Central wild. But no, like I just remember not immediately subscribing to shit like that because it was like, one, I don't like drama. Like, I don't like shit being known about me and my relationship. But two, also, like, why the fuck? Like, I'd seen abuse in my household, so why the fuck would I want abuse in a relationship?
Yeah.
But it was normal. Like, that shit for so many people was, like, cute and normal. And for so many people, it is still cute and normal. Like, you know, big fight, destroying your significant other property, like, is struggle love, and they don't realize it. Like,
yeah, and those were some of the things I even experienced in that relationship. Like he would go through my phone. I'm not gonna act like I never went through his phone. I went through his phone once because I've never been a go through a person's phone type of girl. And something my intuition just said, going his phone.
I just scared that I might see a text message that like, yeah, her breath stink, dog. Like, I don't want to know.
I've never been interested in that because I'm not here for that invasion of privacy. Because you're not only invading your partner's privacy, you're also invading the people they interact with privacy. And those other, you know what I mean? So for me, it's just never been for me. Once in that relationship, something just told me to go through his phone. And he was not a cheater, you know what I mean? But I don't know why. Something was like, it was just, you know, hopped in there. Sure enough, he was like sexting with some old flame. She didn't even live on island. She lived like in Vegas or whatever. I was livid, but we never experienced anything like that again. But he used to go through my phone a lot. He used to break my shit like a lot. Like one of the things, and I'm just, cause this is my business, I don't give a fuck, right? Especially because it's in the past. You know, my present shit I never talk about, but my past shit I'm gonna talk about. He had this habit of, if he got super ragey and angry, he would like break shit, right? And y'all know, I live for an aesthetic. My house got to be beautiful. So when you break in my expensive candles and you're breaking dishes and shit, I'm gonna get mad, right? And so we would get into this cycle where we would get into a really heated argument. He would either break something or he would leave in the middle of the argument. Like he would get me all amped up. We would get in this big fight and then he would just storm out and then say he's going for a walk. And so then I would just lock all the doors. And he would be so angry that he would forget to bring his keys. So when he comes home, now he can't get in the house. And then he would like rage out. I remember one time he like destroyed some of my things in the yard, like destroyed. He's smashed an iPad Pro that I had, like smashed my shit. Like it was, and we were done at that point. We weren't even a couple anymore, but we got into a fight about something absurd. And it got really toxic. And he went and he literally grabbed my shit and just right on the ground, and that shit was in pieces. Like it was just, oh my God. Carry on, girl.
I don't think people realize like how much that's like the ultimate disrespect. Like
it is
when someone destroys your property, like they're not just destroying it because they have a bad temper. They're not just destroying, like they are literally trying to hurt you by destroying things that you care about. And so many people, like I could literally name on both hands the amount of people I know who've been in relationships where the destruction of their property was something normal, where checking your phone was something normal. I ain't gonna lie, I've done it before. I learned my lesson from that shit. Like, you don't feel good after you check somebody's phone.
You don't. And
there's a serious lack of trust and communication and transparency there. If you feel you need to look for something on their phone that
exactly.
you think
like, And you know what I learned? My lesson in that was, you know what? Your intuition told you to go in that phone. You went in that phone. You found something inappropriate. So moving forward, rather than going in the phone and seeing some trifling shit, if you get that nudge, that feeling like you need to go in that person's phone, then there's a bigger issue and there's no need to even like be with that person. So I got to a point where I wouldn't, you know what I mean? And I'm not here for checking phones. And to this day, I'm never checking nobody's phone. And I'm at the point, because I used to be so like, fucking phone was heavily protected and I was changing my passwords often and all that shit because this nigga used to break in my phone. And he would never go looking for messages between me and other men, which those messages didn't even exist. He would go look in me and my friends' conversations to see what we were talking about. And I'm like, so you ain't only violating me, you violated my friends. Because we talk about like real life shit. You know what I mean? But now I'm very nonchalant about my phone. I only have a password for in case my phone gets lost. Like I'm not going to just be out here giving out a whole, iPhone. But if a nigga go in my phone, I'm gonna be like, nigga, you gonna just see what you see. And
like at that point,
who sent you?
So what are some more, I guess, subtle forms of struggle love? Because, like, there are some obvious forms. Like, I think for a lot of people, they're going to be like, oh, well, I never get into no shouting match with my man. So, it ain't struggle love. Or, oh, we trust each other. But, like, what are some more subtle forms that you think people might not even realize? Like, okay, bitch, you're struggling. You might not feel like it, but you're struggling.
You know what I think? Not having a safe space for communication, if that makes sense. Like if there's certain things that you cannot communicate to your partner because of the type of reaction that you might receive, or because you feel like it's gonna negatively impact the relationship, I feel like that might be a form of struggle love. Like if you have okay, good example, let's say you got a partner who's very vanilla in bed compared to you, and they're just not adventurous at all, and the sex is very like regular, right? Same two positions, same routine, like, but in your heart that if you tell this person that you're not satisfied, it's just going to result in them just completely shutting down and you feeling like you've ruined things. And that, to me, that's a form of struggle love.
For me,
what about you?
It's I could make an example out of the opposite. So I've been in a situation where like the lust was all there, sex was amazing, like, but we were so wrapped up in how good that side of it was that like we completely ignored the fact that like he was a commitment phobe, and we were on and off for years, and it's like he would love me and can't get enough of me, but then like whenever it was time to have a girlfriend, like the girlfriend was never me. And then we would stop talking for long periods of time while he was in a relationship. He would end up single, and I would welcome him right back. I think
that struggle.
It don't matter what you do because I can't get enough of you, so like come right back. Like I've definitely been a person in that type of like struggle love relationship. When you're such a people pleaser to the point, or such a person who is desperate for love and affection to the point where you're willing to accept almost anything. Like struggle love comes very easily in cycles like that because your partners, and I try hard not to say men because women have definitely been,
because I was just gonna ask you, I wanted to actually segue into, because again, past stuff I'm very transparent about. I'm going to give you guys an example of a dating situation I was in, and I want you and even those listening, let's have a conversation online. Let me know if this is struggle love. So there was a guy that I dated when I first moved to New Jersey. We were not in a committed relationship. I was not interested in a committed relationship because me and Dylan's dad had only been broken up for like 6 or 7 months at that time, which that was the struggle of a relationship I was referencing earlier. So I'm healing from a struggle of relationship myself. I'm adjusting to this new transition, right? I've completely moved from St. Croix to New Jersey, and it's because I was displaced. It was all of that. So we started dating maybe like 3 or 4 months after I got here. And I was always very transparent about the fact that I was not looking for a serious relationship. And he was like, oh, I'm not putting pressure on you or whatever. But we dated for like 2 years and I never wanted to commit. Do you think that because I was so like uninterested in a relationship, and we did date for like 2 years, right? Would that be like an example of struggle love? Like, because I feel like I was the perpetuator of struggle love for sure, for the most part. Because
so I think for him, in a sense, it was struggle love because he and mostly because he was aware that you weren't ready for a relationship, and he stick around for 2 years. Like
2 years. Yeah, we dated for like 2 years. Like
so definitely struggle love. But I will say that there were some red flags in there. Someone has just come out of a serious relationship and you're dating them with the expectation that somehow one day they're gonna be ready to commit. Like that's a major red flag. Not only because one, you can't rush up somebody, like you can't, like we talked about in the casual sex episode, like if you go into a situation and someone is explicitly clear that their intention is not to date long term or be in a serious relationship, you have to respect that. You can't just think that you can change people. The other thing though is that in a lot of struggle love situations, people expect to be able to endure, especially Black women. There's this expectation that you should be able to endure all of the unhealed parts of your partner for the sake of like loyalty or being a good partner or being
Yes.
ride or die. That's the word, ride or die for somebody. So once you see that someone has come out of a situation that requires healing, even if they seem fine, and I'm not saying like deep down Deidre was a crazy bitch. I'm just saying like Deidre obviously had things that she needed to heal from, and he had this expectation that maybe he was going to be the person to heal her and allow her to move on. Maybe he was going to be the person that she decided like, okay, fuck it, I'm ready to move on. Like, so that's a red flag.
So, and I myself have done that. The guy that I dated when I was like, I think I got with him when I was 18 and we broke up when I turned 20. I want to say there was a period where he was in some long distance affair with his ex-girlfriend. And I chose to stay with him. And then I was that same dumbass who was constantly throwing it in his face. But it would usually be when something would come up where I felt like I couldn't trust him. And I would be like, but also, again, Deidre, you chose to stay with him. Why stay with him if you're going to keep bringing it up, but then also there's that time period that's needed to work through it and heal it and all that shit.
Yeah, I definitely have, like I said, been a person who wanted to stick while pausing, wanted to use like the longevity of the relationship as like a badge of honor and be like, oh, but we've been together this long, or I was like the ride or die person for he, like no matter what, he'd always come back to me, like just all that bullshit. And looking back, it's just like, yo, on top of just that being a really flawed, stupid mentality to have, I really feel like, especially for women, there's that mentality of like, you have to be the ride or die, no matter how many women this person has, as long as you're the one who stick around the longest, like you're the bottom bitch, like you hold he down. So that means like,
that's wild to me.
You get some invisible fucking, like, congratulations, you got a ticket to the chocolate factory. Like, I don't know, it's just it frustrates me so much, especially now that I'm seeing like, I can't even, and I promise y'all, I guess I can't even name these fucking rappers that'll be on Instagram posting about how much they do the girl wrong and that the girl is right or die. But like, okay, so we're gonna start listing examples. Offset and Cardi, I love I do. I love
that's
Cardi
a mess
so
to me.
much.
I
but
do.
I want
she's a baby.
So much better for her.
I really do. I'm so like grossed out by that whole dynamic. I'm just I'm exhausted by it. Like, and then I think the thing that annoys me the most about it, right? Because at the end of the day, they are with each other. They're not with me. They're not with you. Mm-hmm. But I don't need a fucking iOS press release every time you leave him or take him back, right? Every time they go through one of these big, transits, if you will, she goes online and makes this big post explaining why she took him back, and that's her nigga, and she missed the dick. Girl, nobody stay with him and leave us the fuck alone. We didn't ask for that. First of all, if y'all gonna be going through this back and forth breakup to make up, do it with each other and leave the public out of it, because we don't give a fuck. Yeah, the tabloids gonna have their little headlines, let them, but you could just shut the fuck up. You don't have to we don't have to have a conversation about it. We don't need an announcement. We don't need none of that shit. Yeah. Just do your, like, listen, my friend, I told you earlier, my friend didn't know a fraction of the struggle of I was experiencing. You know why? Because I was still in that cycle and I knew that I wasn't done. I'm not going, and one thing, when you really done, you don't know. Mm-hmm. So no matter how much we would do our little breakup thing, there was a part of me that was still going back. So what's the point in me bitching to my friends? And that's just always been me. I'm not going to sit here bitching to my friends and complaining and venting if I know I'm going to be right there in the fucking couch with he, watching TV, sharing a fucking cocktail. What's the point?
Calling your friends, asking them for advice, crying and shit, doing a fucking
and all that shit, only to be like,
listen, I had a friend who used to make a scene with her girlfriend every fucking time we went out. Homecoming, she making a goddamn scene with this girl. Parties, them are arguing and fighting, coming to me crying, talking to me, everything is cry. Oh my God, break up, oh my God. And then the next day, You there for this person. You spending your energy trying to be a good friend. Next day, we reach to go get food. Girlfriend that there. I'm just like, you know what the fuck? Like, and honestly,
Buddha.
people get like, I feel like they get a rush off of that shit.
They
Cardi,
do.
Cardi very much comes from that era and that type of people who feel like that ride or die break up to make up struggle love shit is like it, like that's our way of life, that's how we are. Like, I'm sorry, this person has cheated on you publicly, not even this person just
On camera.
like, this person disrespect you to your fucking face and you are one of the biggest celebrities in the world. Mama, if you're gonna break up to make up, keep that shit to yourself. Like,
Keep it to yourself.
don't
I
have
will
to
never
explain
forget.
nothing to me.
She had just done some kind of a performance, and it was a big deal for her. It was like some sort
and
of
he
a
come on the stage.
Yo, I was mortified. I was like, how dare you?
that.
How dare you minimize her performance? Something such so big in her career
And to make it
to
about
you to make it about. It's the classic narcissist.
And that was the frustrating part about it too, is that when they were going through this struggle of shit, Cardi was ideal. Like, she was at that high point peak in, you know, her early launch as a rapper, as this big star, right? Everybody was talking Cardi B. So not only did you disrespect and cheat on this person, like, you made it public. Now you want to make the breakup public. Now you want to drag that fuck up by getting on stage when she performing and shit and actually had to take you back. Like
I was so.
And that's the frustrating part about her taking he back, is that, like,
yeah, if that's the case and y'all do that shit, y'all have that big ass house, y'all could throw shit, y'all could do that whole song and dance in that fucking mansion. Leave us out of it. Like, it's just annoying to me. It's really annoying.
And if they've healed, if they have, you know, fixed the shit they needed to fix, I get that they have culture now. I get that they have the little, you know, whatever his name is, the baby they just had. Maybe they're at a better place in their marriage. Maybe they've grown. Maybe they've matured. And that's a beautiful thing. I just wish that people didn't have to go through that or feel like they have to go through that fucking much to grow and mature as a couple. Like,
yes, because it's possible.
You can grow and mature as a couple and get to a better place without it being so toxic and so abusive,
so tumultuous.
And so, like,
I want to ask you something, because I will never forget this. Oh my God, this was New Year's of 2020. And this lady and her husband were celebrating maybe their 38th wedding anniversary, something really big. They were celebrating a wedding anniversary, but he had gotten her a new ring for Christmas. Beautiful ring. I don't know if they were renewing their vows or not. I don't want to lie on these people, but they were clearly so happy, right? Happy and love, you know. It was beautiful. But my friend who was there was like a newlywed. I think her and her husband had only been married like 2 years at that point. You know, she was kind of at that point like, why did I even do this marriage thing? Like, I feel like at 2 years, people tend to find themselves like, did I make the right decision? Again, not speaking for all married people, but I feel like all the married people I know, it's usually at 2 years when they're like, ugh, like, again, just, you know, so she was kind of in that moment of like, is marriage like my thing? Like, we'd be having it out about dumb shit. Like, this lady says to my friend that, you know, she's got to stick it out and just to be patient, because her mother taught her that in the first 10 years of your marriage, you basically have to raise your husband. And that's when things ease up and get better. And I literally bust out laughing. And I think I offended a lot of people, and I felt bad for that afterwards. Even my friend was like, I'm not leaving my husband. Like, obviously, I'm just a little frustrated at this one thing we experienced, but I'm not gonna do that for 10 years. Like, you sure? So
the squeaky sound that you just heard in the background was the sound of Deidre opening the goddamn floodgates, okay? The floodgates have opened. Deidre,
is that a thing? Because I was like, if that's what marriage is, I don't want it. I will not do that. Only one man child.
Big part of struggle love, especially as it relates to marriage, is the fact that women have to endure and endure and endure and raise men who have not been adequately raised by their mothers. And I do not subscribe to that fuck. That shit dumb is a cop out and is a way. The person who said a statement first was a man. Prove me wrong. Like,
I just don't understand. I was so
No,
confused. I literally laughed.
no,
I said, I'm not doing that. I
no.
said, if that's what marriage is, y'all could keep it. Because listen,
Listen, your partner is not going to be perfect on day one of your marriage by any means. Your marriage is never going to be perfect, but there is
absolutely
no
not.
reason why the first 10 years of your marriage have to be quote unquote miserable because you have to
10
struggle
years is
and
a
go
long
through. And 10
time.
years is a whole rebirth times 10 and a half. Like,
Yeah, that's how I just could not understand it. It didn't
how
make
am I
any
still
sense
raising the
to me.
person that you were the day I married you when I've become 10 different people by the time we hit 10 years? Like,
Exactly. And don't even get me started on
no.
the fact that now children have been added to the mix. So I just was very confused by that. And it's funny because I remember having a boss. He spoke so highly of his wife. He was so dope. But I remember always, and actually, when I think of what my ideal marriage looks like, him and his wife, and I don't want anybody else's marriage, but I look at certain aspects of their marriage that are favorable and I factor that into kind of what I know I deserve, if that makes sense. But one thing he always talked about was that in the first few years, he didn't say the first 10 years, but he said, the first few years that I was married, I think her name was Cynthia. He's like, the first few years me and Cynthia were married, there was a lot I had to learn about thinking outside of myself. You know what I mean? He was like, she was pretty passive aggressive. So if they were like on a long trip and they stopped at the gas station, instead of just straight up asking him to buy her a drink, she would ask him if he wanted something to drink. And he would say no. And then he came to real, and then he would go pay for the gas and come back with nothing for her. And she would be livid or she would be mad. And so he said, I had to realize that her asking if I wanted something to drink was really her suggesting that I get something for her to drink, And that's something that I'm sure they worked through where she probably now is like, hey, please get me XYZ, as opposed to being passive aggressive. But he would give examples like that. But in no way did he imply that he just was too young to understand certain things and his wife had to raise him.
Like there is an adjustment period. There is things that you always have to learn, which is why I will never subscribe to the belief that, oh, you shouldn't live with your partner beforehand, because
hell no, I'm not doing that.
Living with my husband before we get married, like I'm gonna be honest with you, like that spared us a lot of adjustment when we did get married, because we were already so used to each other's quirks, like we knew each other better. That's a whole other level. Like, yes, there is an adjustment period, but none of that adjustment period requires you to raise a person or to make a person somehow more mature. Like, no, that's a lot of free labor. Like, no,
that's a lot of, and because I was just about to say, like, if you're busy taking care of yourself and showing up as a partner, but you're raising your partner, and then you guys are adding kids to the mix, who is taking care of you, ma'am? How are you benefiting from this? Because it doesn't sound like the woman is benefiting in those situations at all.
And that's the thing, in a lot of struggle love situations, let's be honest, a lot of the times the person who isn't benefiting is the woman, because I mean, and I try to make things as even as possible, but at the end of the day, we have a patriarchal society. Things are set up in a certain way, and the aspiration for most people is marriage. And the way that traditional marriage is molded is it allows men to get away with a lot of that. Like, they don't have to do the emotional labor. They don't have to cook. They don't have to clean. They don't have to do, a man not sorting his laundry is like this normal thing because, oh, he's a guy. Like, shit like that. And women are conditioned to accept it because that's love. That's the things that you have to endure and you have to take it. Like, a lot of people aspire to our grandparents' idea, like what people in getting married and staying married like our grandparents. Bitch, that's because I could create a bank account online by myself or my husband.
Exactly.
That's why.
I can get a job. I don't even there's so many things that our grandparents and great grandparents the women couldn't do without a man. They needed a man to survive. Like,
Christianity is also Christianity is the fucking headquarters of struggle love to me.
Oh, girl.
Because a lot of traditional views of male, female, or heterosexual relationships, marriages, tradition, gender norms, a lot of shit is struggle love, to be honest.
Indeed.
Endure, because God gonna punish you if you get divorced.
Which, girl, don't even. Something about forgiveness and
I want to be clear, I have no plans on ever getting divorced. I love my husband to the moon and back, but I believe in divorce.
Can I ask you something? Is it weird that if I get married, I would not be opposed to us having separate houses?
It is not weird at all because I still try not convince Steven to do that fuck.
Like, I really want to have my own place, and we have keys to each other's place. And,
I want my own space.
I want my
man.
own place so bad. And I just, like, for me, it doesn't mean that we're not spending every night together, because I probably would be by your house or you'd be by mine every single fucking night. But occasionally, if I just want a little space, or if you really piss me the fuck off and we get in a fight, I know where I'm at.
I think we did talk about that the night we did the marriage episode, because
We
I was
did.
like, the older couples used to have separate bedrooms, and I thought that that was the smartest thing, because you really do sometimes need your like happy space or whatever. If I, when I get to the point financially where I can afford it, like I would love to have my own little like studio apartment that I just go to when I need like my time, when I need to create in silence. Like,
no, I'm talking, I want 2 separate houses.
No, like I would love, my ideal situation would be Frida Kahlo and her husband. I don't know if you knew, they had 2 houses in one plot of land that had like a land bridge, or like not a land bridge, but like a bridge between the 2 houses.
See?
And I remember she has like a biographical film created about her where Salma Hayek is starring. And a little girl asked Frida Kahlo, why do you and your husband live in 2 separate houses? And she says, because we're 2 separate people. And I was like, genius. Like, fuck.
But I really want that. Like, and I will come to your bed every night, and you come to, I will even come and change your sheets and all that shit.
Yeah,
like, I will still do that domestic wifely shit, but I want my own place.
So before we end this episode, I think that we have to talk about one of the most famous cases of, I don't know if I would call it struggle. I guess I would call it struggle love. It is, I'm sorry, it is an example of struggle love. One of the most popular breakup to makeup scenarios in the recent decade has been Beyonce and Jay-Z.
Indeed.
Beyonce briefly talked about her having or experiencing miscarriages in a documentary called Life is But a Dream. This was years before Lemonade. I think at least 2 years before Lemonade came out.
Yeah.
And then released an album where we all were made, or where it confirmed, because remember, there were always rumors that Jay-Z had been cheating on Beyonce and that there was some infidelity, especially when the elevator situation Solange. So the rumors were flying, but Beyonce essentially confirmed what she had experienced. And not only did she confirm her own personal experience with like her husband's infidelity and like struggle love and all that stuff, but she also in that album talked about that same endurance that Black women for centuries have gone through at the hands of Black men. Like that idea that like your husband can, he gonna cheat on you, he gonna be abusive, he gonna do this, he gonna do that, and like we have to accept it in order to keep like this Black familiar unit together. So that, listen, we could decipher the album all night, but that was a huge moment. The Beehive has kind of low-key hated Jay-Z ever since, but were you mad at Beyonce when you realized that like she had gone through everything she had gone through and still stayed with him and chose to heal their marriage?
So I wasn't mad at her, because that's her fucking life. Do what you want to do. I was sad for her. Yeah. I was sad for her because I'm like, you are Beyonce Giselle Knowles Carter. Like, you are the Beyonce Knowles Carter. Like, first of all, and this is not to say what everybody always says, if Beyonce gets cheated on, anybody can get shit. That's bullshit. I don't want to hear that.
But she's
bullshit.
fucking Beyonce. Like,
but it's Beyonce Knowles Carter. Let's be the fuck
like,
clear.
Bitch, she ain't anybody. She's Beyonce.
It's Beyonce. And that's what I'm saying. So I felt really bad that even though she is Beyonce, she still loved another person that much that she was able to still stay with them after those things. Does that make sense? Like, I am on top of the world. I am Beyonce. I don't know if you've ever seen that interview clip of her like on The View, and somebody said, you are Beyonce. And she said, thank you. Sis, you are Beyonce.
And she knows, like, she
knows.
Know.
It's not like you're unaware of who the fuck you are. And the fact that you love somebody so much that after everything that they've done, you still have the space in your heart to take them back. And that right there is why struggle love irks my spirit so much, because of how much love is within Black women. I genuinely feel like Black women have a bigger heart than other human beings. Like, there's just always that little drop more in like, and I wasn't mad at her, because again, it's her life. Her taking him back don't have nothing to do with me and my pussy. It's hers. What she eat don't make me shit. So I wasn't mad at her for that, but I was sad for her. I won't even say disappointed. I was genuinely sad. Like, yo, this is really what women experience.
I feel like that love you talk about that Black women have, a big part of it is the fact that because Black men experience the racism, the trauma, like all of that from the outside world,
The
it's
women
kinda
feel like they have to,
like we have to endure that from them, because it's like, if I don't support you, who else gonna
who
support you?
will,
If I don't love you,
yeah,
who else gonna love you? But I feel like a lot of times, especially as it relates to struggle love, like sometimes Black men take advantage of that shit. Like,
absolutely. No, not
I'm not
sometimes, most
saying,
times.
yeah, I'm not saying Jay-Z didn't do the walk to on her forgiveness. Like, their marriage is their marriage. Whatever decision she wanted to make, cool, I respect. It's not for me to respect, like you said, what she eat don't make me shit. But at the end of the day, like, I did feel that sadness for her, because it's like, can you imagine wanting a baby so bad and your husband did something to the point that caused you to experience a miscarriage, to cause you to go through as much pain as you went through. Like, Lemonade is such a painful album. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
It's so
yeah,
beautiful, but she really had to pull that out of a really deeply painful place, and it was
yeah.
like, I just remember I went through the remorse phase of feeling sorry for her, but I also went through the angry beehive phase of like, bitch, you cheat on Beyonce? Like,
Yeah, no, oh, let's be clear. I don't know a member of the Beehive who wasn't like, really, Jay? Like you, like Beyonce? Like, nigga, if I see you, I'm running
with,
up. Like,
with Becky with a good hair? Like, you cheat on Beyonce with Becky.
one thing I'm gonna say, if for nothing else, and this is the Pisces moon in me, this is Pisces in the 5th house, which is the house of creativity, the artsy bitch in me. I'm so grateful for those experiences they had, because when they performed Song Cry and Resentment, baby.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Listen, I will say Struggle Love, if it ain't gonna do nothing else for the music industry, bitch, it gonna give us a good album. Struggle Love. Adele gave us not one, not two, but 3 Struggle Love albums. Beyonce gave us not one.
One thing, if nothing else, we're gonna get some phenomenal art out of Struggle Love.
Yeah.
And so like, give it to me.
Like if, you know what, Cardi? If
Mary J. Blige gives us good,
bitch.
When my cocktail is done, I can't even sip on it. Oh my gosh.
If nothing else, let me just say, I appreciate the music bitches for taking back their man, because some good music to come back from.
Good music comes from that. And on that note, thank you guys for listening. This was really good.
We've talked so much about so many different versions of Struggle Love tonight. So I want you guys to definitely pick whatever part was your favorite part of this episode. Speak to any part of this episode that you want to. Make sure you use hashtag GoodUpTuesday. Tag us at GoodUpPod. Make sure you're sharing the podcast and the podcast links, leaving ratings and reviews. And as always, if you have $3 a month to spare, don't forget to join our Good Up patrons. Get access to our private Facebook page. Take part in all of the conversations with us for $3 a month at the bare minimum. It's patreon.com/gooduppodcast. Guys, we are almost at the end of this season. We have 3 episodes left.
I think two after tonight.
Left. We got 2.
Oh my gosh. I love y'all.
Yeah, I'm so grateful. We love y'all so much. Y'all have been so awesome this season. So we'll talk more about that and what's coming up for the finale. Until then, though, my darlings,
you're good up.
You're good up, bad. Tell the people and bye.
Bye.
And don't take your man back. Good night.